This prison is full of superhumans due to nuclear radiation syndrome. Some of the prisoners have the ability to control electricity, telekinesis, and emit laser beams from their eyes. The most famous prisoner has the ability to control the minds of others. The film begins in an underground parking lot, where a group of superpower villains appear to be beating up their own friends. It turns out that the man is beaten for failing to kill their target named Payback. He could only kill Payback's daughter. Suddenly, Payback comes there and immediately shoots the villains, killing most of them. Since the two of them have bulletproof abilities, Payback is forced to fight them barehanded. He ends up killing the two with ease, leaving the beaten man alone. Apparently, Payback wants to kill the beaten man with his own hands to avenge his daughter's death. Shortly after the massacre, the police arrive at the scene and arrest Payback straight away. Several years before this incident, there was a worldwide devastation known as the Pulse. The Pulse could happen because people started using nuclear weapons in war, causing many people around the world to die from nuclear radiation syndrome. Not only that, riots broke out in major cities around the world as resources became scarce. Some of the surviving humans have suffered from genetic mutations that caused them to obtain various kinds of superpowers. However, the superpower humans have caused various riots by using their abilities to obtain resources. To suppress the chaos, the U.S. government has implemented the super law and set up a super prison, a facility designed to house supervillains. Since Payback is a vigilante and has killed more than 50 criminals, he will spend the rest of his life in the super prison. In a news story, it is revealed that the super prison is overseen by a man named Devlin. Devlin is interviewed by negative rumors surrounding him, ranging from his inhumane treatment of prisoners to detaining villains who only committed minor offenses. Enraged, Devlin denies all these rumors and admits that not a single prisoner has managed to escape during his work as an overseer. Feeling pressured by all the questions, Devlin quickly disconnects. Sometime later, Payback arrives at the super prison along with the other prisoners. It seems that Payback really wants to go to the super prison because he wants to kill everyone there. Among the prisoners, there is a boy named Diego, who has the ability to share emotions and feel the pain of those around him. Diego was unable to hurt people, but unluckily, he was wrongly accused of hurting someone with his abilities. The super prison has a security system called nullies, which can suppress their superpowers to prevent riots. The guards put nullies on the prisoners' ankle cuffs, while their identities are being recorded by the guards. Devlin warns the new prisoners not to mess around in the super prison. Later, the prisoners gather in the courtyard while being watched by the guards. Payback meets a fellow prisoner, Jim, who is the brother of the man Payback once killed. The two of them end up fighting without their superpowers. Obviously, Payback wins the fight after beating Jim without mercy. When he wants to finish Jim, the guards step in and activate the nullies to electrocute Payback. Consequently, Payback collapses and gets beaten by the female guard who has super muscles. Afterwards, the officers send Payback and Jim to the infirmary for treatment. In fact, fights between prisoners are frequent, but the guards let them fight first because it adds so much fun to their monotonous life. Soon, Diego meets another prisoner named Gordon, who has the ability to control electricity. Gordon claims that he was the first prisoner there and was never defeated until nullies was created. While walking around the super prison, Gordon tells Diego some rules he should follow, unless he wants to get into trouble there. As a new prisoner, Diego curiously asks Gordon about the Lobe, a prisoner with extremely terrifying superpowers. Without nullies, the Lobe is unstoppable because he has the ability to control anything with his mind, including the human brain. He could control his victims to commit suicide in a very sadistic way. Hearing Diego's question, Gordon advises him to stay away from the Lobe as he is the most dangerous prisoners there. On the same day, the Lobe is taken into a dark room where the court discusses his parole for the fourth time. He makes fun of the trial because he knows that a dangerous villain like him will never get his parole. However, it turns out that the trial is Devlin's plan to talk to the Lobe in private, since he is about to retire soon. Devlin orders the Lobe to transfer his money to Devlin's bank account. Devlin also threatens to kill him if he would not follow his orders. Back in the infirmary, a female doctor is examining injured prisoners, including Payback. Next to Payback is a prisoner whose head is missing, but is still alive because he can regenerate. Diego suddenly comes in to pick up the trash and clean the infirmary. since he does not look as dangerous as the other prisoners. The female doctor talks to him and shares stories about her routine work. She then heads to the next room to psychologically treat the lobe. Suddenly, a conscious Payback comes to the room and immediately strangles the female doctor until she passes out. A furious Payback intends to kill the lobe as he has recognized him as a ruthless villain. Just as Payback is about to stab the lobe, Diego arrives just in time to stop his action. The news of this incident spreads throughout the super prison. As a result, the prisoners, including Gordon, begin to respect Diego for daring to stop Payback alone and save the lobe. Some of them give their puddings to Diego as a form of respect. Diego's action also earns the lobe's respect and affection. In the meantime, Devlin's assistant, Felicia, has discovered about Devlin's deal with the lobe. To cover it up, Devlin promises Felicia a promotion shortly after he retires. Devlin also threatens to fire her if she dares to expose his corruption. For the next few days, life in the super prison goes on as usual. Over the past 10 years, Gordon has applied for parole many times, but has always been denied by the courts. It can be seen that the US super law has always been unfair to the prisoners. In other words, the prisoners will not have the possibility of parole. One day, it is Gordon's turn to apply for another parole. He hopes his parole would be successful this time. Gordon initially tries to answer the questions politely. However, the court keeps cornering him with questions. As a result, Gordon becomes enraged, and his parole application is again denied. He becomes disappointed and devastated by the outcome of the trial, even though he never causes any trouble there. Meanwhile, the lobe is preparing his escape plan from his confinement room while Gordon and Diego are having lunch. The lobe's assistant gives Gordon an iron object. Apparently, the lobe intends to wreak havoc there and gives Gordon a chance for revenge. Seeing the opportunity, Gordon takes off his prison uniform and quickly uses the iron object to unlock his ankle cuffs. He then jumps onto the table and rips off the wire to recharge his body. With his superpowers regained, Gordon destroys the super prison's electrical system, causing all of the nullies to be disabled. Consequently, all prisoners begin to riot and they fight each other. At the same time, Devlin instructs Felicia to turn on the generator to restore the electrical system. After successfully turning on the generator, all prisoners are electrocuted by the nullies and sent back to their confinement room. On the other hand, Gordon arrives at the infirmary and looks at the free world. A female guard suddenly attacks him from behind. She then receives an order from Devlin to kill Gordon for causing chaos. Hearing this, the female guard is hesitant at first, but ends up punching Gordon in the face to death. Soon, news of Gordon's death spreads everywhere. It is revealed that 12 inmates have died in the super prison. However, Devlin does not comment about the accident at all. Later, he shows Diego the torture chamber, where time will run very slowly there. At that point, Devlin has thought that the riot might be caused by the lobe. He also suspects that there is a secret between Diego and the lobe because they are very close. Because of that, Devlin tells Diego to report everything he knows about the lobe, unless he wants to be sent to the torture chamber. Unable to find a clue from Diego, Devlin visits the lobe in his confinement room. He warns the lobe not to think about escaping. Instead, Devlin suggests him to cooperate with himself and transfer the money as soon as possible. Knowing that he has no chance of escaping, the lobe finally agrees to cooperate with Devlin. He also asks for more time to transfer the money because it is not an easy thing to do. The following day, the guards go down to the basement along with the technician to repair the super prison's electrical system that was destroyed by Gordon. Meanwhile, the prisoners receive a brown envelope from their respective families, containing their favorite items. The lobe slowly devises a plan to escape. Somehow, he gets a tablet to prepare his escape plan by creating a virus program, which he later uses to hack into the security system. On the other side, Payback has a cross tattooed on his face and continues to seek trouble with Jim. Surprisingly, Jim does not want to fight with him anymore. Diego also visits the lobe to make sure that he will help himself to escape from there. On Devlin's retirement day, it is revealed that the captain of the guards will replace Devlin as overseer. This makes Felicia very angry and disappointed with her boss. Later, Devlin goes to the lobe's room and gives a tablet to him to transfer the money to his bank account. Devlin is very happy to see the lobe cooperatively start transferring the money. Unbeknownst to Devlin, the lobe uploads his virus program onto the tablet. Because of that, the nullies start to lose their effect. All of the prisoners regain their superpowers and immediately start a riot for the second time. Apart from attacking the guards, they also fight each other using their various superpowers. At that moment, Diego, who is in the infirmary, can feel the pain of the prisoners who are fighting. Luckily, he is able to relieve his pain thanks to the female doctor who quickly comforts him. In the meantime, Devlin receives a call from Felicia telling him about the sudden chaos. Knowing this, He wants to return to his room to take control, but the Lobe has locked the door. It seems that Devlin is the most important part of the Lobe's escape plan. As the chaos is getting worse, the captain of the guards asks for a solution from Felicia. She says that the security system was built on a generator at the basement and a hard reset would bring everything back online. Felicia eventually guides the captain by the surveillance cameras. Once the captain arrives at the basement, his radio loses its signal. So Felicia cannot guide him anymore. As he tries to find a way to reset the generator, Jim, whose face has changed, catches up with the captain. Jim immediately attacks him and reveals that one of the guards has been assisting the Lobe in carrying out his plan all along. At first, the captain is overwhelmed against Jim because he is just an ordinary human. At one point, the captain smashes the pipe next to him. This causes hot air to gush out at Jim, who is eventually scalded to death. At the same time, Devlin sits in front of the Lobe and waits for his work to be done. When the Lobe finishes transferring the money to Devlin's bank account, he states that he has another powerful ability which no one else has ever known. Apparently, the Lobe has the ability to swap his consciousness with someone else. He quickly swaps his consciousness with Devlin because it is his only way to get free from the super prison. After using his superpowers, the Lobe, who is now in Devlin's body, knocks Devlin out with a punch. At that time, the captain manages to reset the generator so that the nullies are restored back. The Lobe immediately takes control and stops the chaos by electrocuting all of the prisoners. When the door is opened, the Lobe orders the guard to send Devlin to the torture chamber. He then walks out of the room and meets Felicia. The two walk along the corridor, and the Lobe finally promotes Felicia to become the super prison's overseer. Meanwhile, the guards take the prisoners in the courtyard back to their rooms, with Felicia as overseer. Many changes are made in the super prison. One of them is the change in the classification of the prisoners' superpowers. Due to this change, Diego will be transferred to another prison, and his sentence will be reduced because his superpowers could not harm others. Before leaving, Diego comes to the infirmary room to say goodbye to the female doctor. He thanks the female doctor for taking care of him all this time. Not long after that, Diego walks out of the super prison. The Lobe's assistant is also released from there. It turns out that the Lobe had told them both not to participate in the riots as it is the only way to get a chance of parole. The film ends with the Lobe picking up his assistant and starting his new life, with lots of money in his bank account.